Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is my 25th edition of live streaming. I didn't do it last week because I was preparing for this, my passion of future fashion on the side, and I was struggling with different projects, but mostly it's about art and technology. And as you can see, there are so many things happening. Recently, it's like you can see something new is start to emerge. I have to say, while I'm juggling with different kind of projects, with AR, with digital fashion, with AI, because of technology, everything start to get more come together and easier to execute. So it's easier to buy things for us, easier to make stuff for us. And as I'm gonna talk deeper into the digital fashion industry, this area is something that I haven't paid a lot of attention to. So I think I have some research that's quite useful if you are interested in the digital fashion industry, if you're interested in the future of fashion itself, because I do think there are two things that may change fashion completely. I did make a image about the evolution of digital fashion, because I don't know if you are one of the person who are interested about it a long time ago. 2018 sounds like not that far ago, but it's actually already almost 10 years, 8 years ago. This is one of the image from the Fabricant. It's one of the earliest digital fashion company. They created this fabric, digital fabric, and sold this digital clothes for quite a lot of money. I forgot how much is it, but it was a big wave in the digital fashion metaverse that time, metaverse industry. That time, a lot of people talk about how we're gonna start to sell digital clothes, which doesn't even exist. I know it was a hype, but it was a transitional period of time. Digital garments exist independently from the physical world and sold probably more than 100,000. And people started to collect digital fashion, the collections, virtual photo shoots, and then gaming collaborations. I was really interested in that. At that time, I was really interested. I thought it would be more about gamification, which is coming for the next 3 years, from 2019 to 2022. I think around that time. I remember I was playing Fortnite, and I got a Balenciaga tool that looked like the shoes, and I was using that tool in the game. I purchased it, and I also purchased one. I still had a video, I think, on my YouTube channel, the Gucci shoes that I can choose and try on in the VR chat. So that was my experience of using or purchasing digital fashion pieces online in the game, gamification, metaverse. That time I was thinking digital fashion gonna go somewhere, and I was hoping the metaverse, now it sounds like an interesting word, the virtual world will have something that we haven't seen before. It's more engaging, more fun. And then I went to this virtual market in the VR chat. I also bought virtual pieces for my avatar. I have all kinds of video on my YouTube. If you're interested, you can go take a look. Which means I was hoping where this digital fashion is going. And then, because NFT started to die down, we never really invest in any NFT because we're just watching what's going to happen in this NFT world. But we're a bit hesitating about it at that time. We do see all these brands like Gucci, Nike, Roblox, all these brands are collaborating with a lot of game, or like I said, virtual market, people buy things. But I was more interested in how these virtual garments, digital fashion, connect with the real world. And then around 2023, that was 3 years, maybe a bit earlier than 3 years ago, people start to dive into the tool like Clo 3D. So Clo 3D is if you never heard about it, it's a 3D software that let the fabric, the digital fabric, drip on the model, and you can create almost like making a real clothes. You make garments and pieces of clothes and sew them together, drip on the body, so it can give you more freedom to make clothes like that. But it's a little bit difficult to import all this kind of fabric into the virtual world because the polygons are too small, too detailed. But I actually create a company with a friend just to making digital fashion clothes, and we still didn't know where this is all going. But it is the focus shift from hype to real workflows. So that's a big change. So from this gamification to 3D design become the industry standard. So at that time we do know people work in digital fashion company. We do know a lot of companies are using digital fashion to make 3D garments and then concept videos with that model wearing these beautiful pieces made by Clo 3D. And that time also there's a hype for sustainability talking, because we believe if we use garments that is not physically made by real clothes, you can virtually try on to fitting, and then to like not wasting too much materials. So there's like another hype after that. Then, as you all know, AI is here. That's a really interesting and kind of emotional for me, because I was kind of reluctant to the fact that the AI will eventually create all the clothes that I wanted to make. I still hesitating if that's gonna replace a lot of creative people's work. I'm still trying to figure out if this 3D clothes is working as before. Like, is it still gonna be sustainability? Is it gonna, maybe hurt the environment even more because everyone now is using AI? Let's not go there too far, because in this case, I'm just like today, just really want to talk more about the evolution of fashion, digital fashion, and the future that we may enter at this period of time that I'm interested in the near future is the digital meets physical, the 3D printed clothes. Because recently I do see so much Instagram posts about 3D printing, and the fabrics getting more and more realistic, lightweighted. So it's really exciting to see all this. I don't know if it's the individual artists started using 3D printers, started print clothes, but it's different than I imagined. When I think about 3D printing, before I dive into all this research, I thought it's all about sculptural, like hard 3D printed materials, and you just have to sculpt them, stick together. But I saw a lot of Instagram posts about using the 3D printer creates actually fabric, and it just looks really soft. I don't know how it will react to rain, to snow, I'm not sure, but later I can show you some examples. So I kind of researched a little bit. It's pretty impressive. So we can see the 3D printing, it's on demand, and it will become a new wave, I think, in the near future. There are a lot of people start to testing about smart materials. They start to use different, maybe environmental friendly material to create 3D printed fabrics and to experiment more. And then they try to localize production. So I can see the workflow can be with 3D clothes or with AI to design the fashion, and then to use 3D printer. Maybe at this moment it's really hard for individual, more like company, or you need a pretty big tool to create things that you really want to. I don't know where that will go, but we can go through it today just to take a look based on all the research I have. And then also the future I can imagine about clothing. It's about smart living materials, AI driven creation, like integrate health or like check your heartbeat, all these kind of smart integrations onto your clothes, and then with like light or sensors, all those kind of materials. That's my, right now, just a little imagination about the future of fashion, but this is all about technology, right? When it's fashion means technology. I'm not talking about runways. Runway, yes, we are embracing, a lot of companies are embracing technology, but I'm not really interested too much. I'm not like expert of it. What I'm interested in how technology changed the way people create, and that's what my channel is always has been about. So yeah, I will show you why do I find this interesting. So at the beginning, what gets my attention is these new words, Y3K. So we all know Y2K. It's around that period of time when Paris Hilton or all these girls are wearing Japanese culture, Harajuku culture, started Y2K. And Y3K and Y2K is a little bit similar because, as you can see, this is a recent Instagram and also a lot of music video of aespa, one of the most popular Korean K-pop group. So I can see their fashion style recently really close to Y3K, which is the combination of really colorful nostalgia, also with bright colors, somehow futuristic, playful, low-cut jeans, baby tees, all this. So the combination of all this color and the style together. So I can see the wave of this Y3K, and I didn't realize that was a word before, but I started to see people talk about it. So I was using AI to create a picture of myself if I write Y3K and then creative wearing or metallic. Well, I started to think about all these materials. This doesn't pretty much look like me, but looks like me. But this one is, I just really love the fabric. Can you see how this is all like a sculptural? And then all I did is the Y3K. So from AI, I can create this kind of fabric and then metallic look with the, I think I write shimmery, futuristic, all these keywords. So in the digital world, in the near future, I'm pretty sure we can create all kinds of outfit if we have the keywords. Like I mentioned, we can write Y3K, we can write Y2K, we can write futuristic, and then it just give you all this. I haven't tried 3D printed dress though. I may have to try that later on, but I wanted to see what kind of, I always try with AI image creating generation tool just to see if I write certain keywords, what kind of outfit it generated. Also, if I tweak a little bit with my own keywords, or for example, metallic material, or like some kind of material, maybe. I think one time I was writing like futuristic material that doesn't exist yet, but like it didn't really come out the exactly outstanding material I was hoping for. Anyway, you should totally experiment on this. It's quite interesting. And then I started to dive deep into a little bit into what the future of 3D printed fashion can look like. And I do think in the near future, luxury designer could be embracing the 3D print first, because I already really love, as you may know, Iris Van Hepburn. This is a little research I did. If you're interested, I can like drop this in the file. So 3D printed fashion and fabrics represent a step forward towards Y3K fashion. Since 3D printing allows for designers to produce textures and silhouettes previously not possible with traditional manufacturing process, right? The material itself leads itself to these new innovations. All these polymers produce highly resistant chainmail-like structures. Like basically, I was talking about like a structural pieces that look like this. This is one of the big, quite popular Iris Van Hepburn pieces. So it's definitely look like a sculpture. So it's not fabric. It's requiring zero manual needlework or scrap work. So it's really fun. You can see closely. It looks like fabric, but it's like a sculptural fabric. And then this year, Coachella, Lisa was wearing something like sculptural made by Iris Van Hepburn. I shared one time on my live streaming. I really love that piece. That's one of the interesting pieces I'm like in love with, because it does look like this girl is from the future. And that's my imagination of futurist fashion. My hope is one day we can all have the tool to create our own fashion pieces like this, as add on top of AR augmented digital graphics on top of this. Can you imagine? That would be really fun. But like how you can work with this, like how comfortable the materials, I'm not too sure about it. And then this is another piece, like 3D print. This is rather more simple. So the 3D pieces are this rose petals, and then they created this dress in the Met Gala. It's not one of my favorites, and this is from the company 3S4, and then they made a dress called biomimicry collection. So, which means they're creating pieces. I read an article about it. They're creating pieces based on the nature, movement, biology, how the pieces look like grown by itself. I think there's one article all about that. I can also drop this link there if you're interested. Possibilities unfolding at the intersection of fashion design technology, and you can see these pieces are really stunning. It's very experimental. Yeah, I think a lot of company designers are. Oh, look at the back. I really want to touch it and just see. It's not made by. This is not AI, this is real. They actually create pieces like this, and then they're mimicking the nature, how our fashion can look like a leaf or a tree, or and then it looks like it growing. Or maybe a lot of fashion is also inspired by ocean. Under the ocean, there's so many creatures that looks beautiful, and then we can create pieces that inspired by those. That's also something I'm looking forward to. This is now black. I can imagine all these like coral colors or like turquoise. There will be so many fun materials or layers and layers of structures that we can play with. And then I checked a couple of different like materials and effects for the 3D printing, even though I've never tried one. I do wanted to try one day. And yeah, like I'll show you some example on the Instagram. It looks really fun, but it definitely requires a lot of work. Excuse me for my pronunciation. This is one of the material, thermoplastic polymers. It's flexible, lightweight, and structural. And then there's metal powders. It's metallic jewelry, strong futuristic appearance. And then photopolymer resin, extremely detailed. And then crystal-like textures. Currently, limitation that I find is like, yeah, most printers are too small to make big pieces. All I can see people creating 3D fashion online is they have rather pretty big printer, but the pieces are little pieces. They can only make probably like this sized piece, and then you have to stick them together to make it into garments or drip on people's model's body. Large garments must be printed in sections. That's one of the limitation, and pieces are assembled afterwards. So there are little pieces and you have to stick together. So it definitely a big job. I also saw a lot of people print out like shoes, like junk, like kind of big, bulky, look like sneaker, almost like what is that shoes? The really bulky one, the round. Crocs. Look like Crocs, but it's 3D printed. But I can't imagine if you walk on the street how strong it is. Can you run with it? Is it comfortable to walk? It's definitely just for design at this moment. But I also see people using 3D printer to print pieces that on your hat or jewelry, like pieces like this, you design your own. Really creative. Like there are tons of them online. You can search 3D printed dresses or 3D printed shoes or clothes. I'm 100% sure in the near future, a lot of people, like maybe if some place will have giant 3D printer that you can try or use or experiments. That will be one of my dreams. Once I have a like an office in Tokyo, that I will have a 3D printer just to experiment with these possibilities. It's really fun. So flexible material, our soft materials are difficult to print. They can jam the printer, and then printing errors are very common. This is like some of the research was talking about. Materials become part of the design language because you have to know what kind of material, because before the fabric is all pretty easy to design, but with 3D printer you have to know exactly what you're using. And I also read some article and some Instagram, a lot of designers say they have to make their own materials, and they have to make sure it's environmental friendly. All these things they will keep in mind. So it's really not an easy process, but that's why it's fascinating, right? So my imagination for the future is AI designed garments, because I think the flow is not, you don't use AI to design your pieces. You still from imagination, but to be able to use the right material, somehow you have to use AI to analyze, or I think that's one of the part that you need AI. And then maybe use Clothes 3D or any kind of 3D software to simulate the fit. And then you export the pieces. You use 3D printer to piece sections of the clothes or shoes, and then manufacture it. So maybe each piece will be unique, because it depends on person. If you have, maybe you can scan your body first and then measure everything, and then create pieces based on your body shape. That's what I think the future or fashion could be in the future. Instead of course, you still have shops to go to. You still can buy clothes, but 3D printed dress or clothes can be one of the creation, one of the things you can actually purchase, or order made. I don't know if you are interested in fashion, you're interested in technology, maybe that's something you can explore by yourself, and try to figure out where in your city or place that have 3D printer that can try some pieces to create. And this is one of the example I'll show you. So this is the fabric I saw. See, she used Clothes 3D to drip on the body, and then find the pieces they can create. And you also have to sew it. And this is a 3D printed pieces. Yeah. And what else? There's another one. I saved quite a lot. Why it takes so long? Oh yeah, this piece, it looks like a casual clothes. It looks normal, right? It looks like real fabric. This is from AI prompt to wearable fashion. And then they have the process. Look at this. It's so cool. How did they do that? I don't know what material is it. Prompt wearable fashion. I think this should be one of first real example. AI prompting become wearable fashion production tool. Bio-based filaments with zero micro. Oh my god, all these words. Microplastics that are biodegradable and recyclable that I'm developing with. It's like developing with different companies, with local manufacture and customization to any measurements with zero waste. Interesting. Would you buy a clothes that 3D printed like this with zero waste? But I think it depends on how much. Depends on the price too. Yeah, with all if all these materials are easier to manufacture or create or use, then yeah, I'd love to try 3D printed fashion. And it's really like it's also very soothing and meditative just to watch 3D printed clothes. Like you're just like waiting for your clothes to be born right there. Of course, you have to sew it after. But look at this. They're just printing very detailed fabrics with machine. And they look like this. So sick. This is so different than I imagined 3D printing. I thought it's like Iris Van Harpen kind of sculptural clothes, but now it seems like it's no longer the case. The technology is evolving so much and people are making real fabrics with 3D printing. And this is one that I find, it's my imagination, but also very creative. Some people using 3D printer to make a hat like this, or yeah, these glasses. It's also very creative. Oh yeah, that's the shoes. It looks really cool. So you should probably design it in the workflow and then print it out. I can tell it's not that strong, like, but who knows, material can be changed. This is also very creative. That's a hat. Yeah, and those, yeah, a lot of people put, making pieces like this and put on your bag, look very futuristic. Super. I want this. So yeah, so much that we can do in the future. Oh, this is the article. So yeah, I personally want to imagine the future of fashion in the near future, because right now there's so much. For the past 9 years, not even 10, 8 years, digital fashion has evolved so much from, just digital garments to metaverse, and then actually workflow with 3D, like clothes, and then become like AI created everything. Now I start to see 3D printer start to make actual fabric and environmental friendly materials. Who knows what's coming next? It's at this stage, I think it's more about how accessible it is in the near future, what kind of materials we can use, and what kind of materials people actually need. Because to be honest, when shopping, sometimes, how in Japan, even in Tokyo, like Zara is everywhere. Sometimes you just like, yeah, let me go pop in and take a look how the material, the new fashion pieces in Zara is like so hard to to touch the material. Like you see all the fashion at the beginning, you see all these colors, like, it looks beautiful. And then once you get into it, start to touch the fabric, you just really don't want to wear. I can tell how it is really the fast fashion. I don't like the fabric. I also think there's just tons of things that it's really hard to choose, and then there's so many clothes people don't need. So either environmentally or technology evolving in the future, or what kind of future you want it to be. I'd like to hear in the comment, if you can comment on my video and just share your vision of the future of fashion. It doesn't have to be purely digital, but I think technology does definitely play a pretty important role in how we're going forward with fashion. I predict all these big brands are gonna get technology involved in the next couple years. 3D printing fashion piece, I can see it's coming, but I'm not 100% sure. I just, like, in my mind, it's coming. It's here. So let's see. In this channel, I always talk about things I'm interested in, I'm watching, I'm observing. Also, why I talk so much about taste training, taste, is because in the near future, when everything is so accessible, like, I don't know how many presentations recently I made with AI, because it's just so easy, and my vision is very easy to be, like, easy to describe. Seems like AI gets me really well, which is kind of scary, right? If I say, can you make this presentation branding a bit more feeling like 1, 2, 3, I get the design and the presentation really well. Like, it represents the feeling I want it to be. Of course, if I want a branding image, like, especially for clients, if it's like a related to brand image that need to tell a story a certain way, I still need designer's eye. I think designers are very important in terms of branding, because ChatGPT or AI can create some kind of stories that sometimes it's hard, like, pretty easy to argue that they're not standing still of what they really try to create. But when it comes to presentation or some, like, easy design that you already have a brand image, it's pretty impressive. So I can see with any kind of industry it's coming to us, that everything will be easier to make. So we really need to figure out what exactly we want to do. And if you have a 3D printer at home, then you can print all kind of clothes that you can wear. So are you gonna dress up yourself in a certain way that it's like, we'll see a lot of people have very unique taste and unique way of dressing up because of all these 3D printers. And also there's another interesting article I found online, if you are interested. It's about 3D, Y3K, how it's evolved, how the story of it behind it, and all this interesting facts about it, the evolution of it. So take a look if you're interested. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. That's it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.